Today, based on the opening verse of Psalm 103, we reflect very briefly together on the spirituality of gratitude. I may even say the beauty of gratitude. The opening verse of the psalm I referred to runs as follows: Bless the Lord, O my soul, all that is within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Obviously, this is a psalm about expressing our gratitude to God, our thankfulness to God. Now, if I review my experiences over the last half century, one trend I notice, I don't know if this has come to your notice also, is that expressions of gratitude are drying up. One hears far fewer expressions and situations of gratitude as compared to what was the case half a century ago. Now, the only context I can think of where some kind of routine gratitude is expressed is on television discussions. When people invited to participate in discussions open their statements by saying, "Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me." Now, to what extent they really feel grateful, what is the substance and extent of their gratitude, one does not know. It may be very much like us saying good morning to somebody when we see that person first time in the day. It is said not because something very significant is intended. It's said by force of habit, by way of complying with a social practice. So the person who says good morning to another does not feel anything particularly good about that morning. Nor is he bothered whether or not the person he addresses feels anything good about the morning. It has come to be a habit to say good morning, and therefore we say good morning. And the person who hears good morning from the person concerned also takes it that way and they move on. So, apart from this routine, perhaps not seriously meant or not deeply felt expressions of gratitude, it's very rarely that one comes across, especially in interpersonal relations, the expression of gratitude. Why is this important for us to recognize? And that's the point I want to make. If you want to really measure or assess the richness of a person's life, you can actually use the yardstick of thankfulness. Does he or does she have opportunities to say thank you either to human beings or to God? Now, if the answer is yes, then you can rest assured that that person is in sound health and is leading a fairly meaningful life. And on the other hand, you should not expect expressions of sincere gratitude from people who live or lead an empty, meaningless life. And to such people, expressions of cynicism, grumbling, unhappiness would be more natural. So, the first thing I want to say is that being in situations and states of sincere gratitude, as against habitual or socially enforced expressions of gratitude, is a measure of the quality and meaningfulness of the life that we lead. For example, if you're in a relationship, maybe a friend, maybe a life partner, maybe a colleague, if there are occasions where you feel truly grateful to that person or those persons, then you are in a very blessed state. Likewise, if there are people around you who feel truly grateful to you and who do not mind expressing their thankfulness to you, then there is a good chance that you are leading a very meaningful life. On the other hand, if you don't either express gratitude towards others or you don't hear gratitude being expressed by others concerning what you mean to them, then there is a need to sit up and take note. So that's the very first thing I want to say, that those who are leading a rich, full, and meaningful life will have their life annotated with expressions of gratitude. Now, if you really consider the lives of saints in the past, you will find invariably that the feature or the characteristic that most distinguished them was their spirit of gratitude. They felt grateful to God for anything and everything, even for the ordinary experiences of life. Most of us are under the impression that we need to be grateful to God only for very sensational, dramatic, mega events, blessings, and experiences of life. The saints in the past were not like that. When they opened their eyes on the world around, they found that it was filled with God's greatness, God's glory, and even a blade of grass, therefore, made them feel grateful to God. So that's why I'm saying again that the spirit of gratitude is characteristic of those who lead a meaningful, godly, and substantive life. Now, to express gratitude in a sincere manner, we have to lead an authentic life. Those who are hollow within cannot express sincere gratitude, and even if they attempt to express gratitude, or if they pretend that they are grateful, you cannot miss the note of hollowness in the expression of gratitude that they so very deliberately and laboriously undertake. So, the quality of our inner life, the truth of our inner life, is what comes out in the form of sincere gratitude. I underline the word sincere gratitude. Now, here I have to add that this also means that true or sincere gratitude is incompatible with any form of hypocrisy. Now, the life of a saint, for example, is characterized by total integration and integrity. Integration of the inner life and the outward life. In the case of most people, there is a contradiction between the inner state and outer appearances. That's why we have to pretend that we are very godly. And Jesus deals with this issue in the 6th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. He asks people, why are you so keen to be seen by others? You're so keen that others should see you as a very holy, pious, and godly person, whereas inwardly you are nothing of the sort. So this discrepancy, this dichotomy, or this contradiction between what a person appears to be and what a person truly is within himself, that dichotomy kills the spirit of gratitude. So, to be truly grateful, one has to be an integrated personality, that is to say, a person whose expressions, outward appearances, correspond to the truth of his or her inner life. Only then will an individual be able to experience and express sincere gratitude. And this state of integrated existence is often referred to by Jesus Christ through the metaphor of fruitfulness. We know that in nature, a tree produces fruit because there is the rush of the sap within the tree, and it's the truth of that inward condition of the tree that gets manifested in due season as fruitfulness. A dry tree does not produce fruit. So, in nature, the element of hypocrisy is not present, or hypocrisy is absent from nature, because apart from human beings, others are not in a position to maintain this dichotomy or this contradiction between appearance and reality. So, gratitude also calls for a harmony between who we are within ourselves and what we appear to be to the world outside. If there is an element of deceit in us, if we are devious in respect of anything, if we shortchange truth, if we believe that we can impress people through our appearances, hiding the rotten inner state, then rest assured, the spirit of gratitude will not be in us. And even if we strain to express our gratitude, what comes out will not be gratitude, but something that will be recognized by the people concerned as utterly insincere pretensions of a state that doesn't really exist. Now, in the New Testament, this experience of thankfulness to God is also associated with health and wholeness. A good example is found in the third chapter of the book of Acts, where Peter and John uh, become the instruments on behalf of Jesus Christ to heal a man who was sitting and begging at Gate Beautiful. And as the man expects an alms from Peter, Peter says, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I give to you. In the name of Jesus of Nazareth, rise up and walk." And he immediately jumps up. And we know that very famous chorus, how he leaps, jumps, and praises God and enters the temple to worship. So he praises God. The attainment of health is immediately characterized by the expression of spontaneous gratitude. Obviously, there is nothing contrived, nothing insincere about the expression of gratitude on the part of this healed person. So, a healed state, a state of health, a state of wholeness will also be characterized by gratitude. And therefore, if the spirit of gratitude is dead in us, rest assured that our personality is almost dead. Therefore, it's a very serious matter, and particularly young people should mind this issue, whether or not they really experience gratitude towards others. After all, they have been nurtured, brought up, enabled to stand on their feet, enjoy the goodness of life through the labors of others. Life is a matter of endless obligations and indebtedness. We live on the foundations that other people create. We have been brought up, we have been raised affectionately through a laborious process, and our parents have invested heavily in us. Our relatives have, the society has. So, at every level, there are multiple obligations working on us. But we tend to take everything for granted, and therefore, we don't feel the need, the inward compulsion to feel and express gratitude towards others. That actually shows that we are not in a state of true vitality. If you experience the goodness of life, you cannot but say thank you to God. There's no question about it. When I look at the trees and plants all around me, and look at the subtle changes that I notice in every leaf each day, especially after rains, especially when the morning sun comes up, or even when the sun is setting in the west. Subtle changes. The face of beauty that I see all around us is constantly distinguished by subtle changes, each stage beautiful in itself. My heart fills and overflows with gratitude to God. Because when I can't behold the created world without also sensing the Creator, even if the Creator in His great humility has chosen to be a hidden presence in creation rather than make himself manifest, and therefore minimize the space for human initiative, freedom, responsibility, and accountability. Now, the third thing I want to say is that gratitude actually denotes tremendous inner power, whereas ingratitude is a matter of weakness, anemia. You have to be a robust person, a healthy person, a person of tremendous inner vitality to be truly grateful. First of all, only a person of vitality will attempt something significant. And only when you attempt something significant will you enter into a series of significant experiences, which include also gains, breakthroughs, newer and enlarged sense of reality, and above all, added enrichment to oneself. All of us would crave to be expressed as gratitude to God, assuming, of course, that it's from God that all good gifts come. So, we have to be in that powerful inner state to be able to express spontaneous, authentic gratitude. If not, we can only pretend to be grateful, especially when we are obliged to do so. So, this inner state. So, the incapacity for gratitude should make us worry that the inner sources of life are drying up. Uh, and if you review the many episodes in the New Testament, you'll also find that the spirit of gratitude wakes up in us when we are in a state of oneness with God. If you're alienated from God, obviously we won't feel gratitude towards God. In fact, we would try and hide ourselves from God as Adam and Eve did after they fell away from the grace of God. The more we feel one with God, the more our heart overflows with gratitude to God, because then we realize that God is the very ground of our existence. And everything that is good, beautiful, and meaningful in it originates in God or exists there because of God's grace. So our life overflows with gratitude to God. And the power of gratitude, and I'll close on that. There is an episode in the book of Acts, chapter 16, where Paul and Silas are arrested and put in prison. What do they do in that state? As they languish in the prison, they sing praises unto God. They sing praises unto God. What happens? The doors of the prison open. Great change happens. Now, this is a symbolic way of underlining the power of gratitude. If you have the spirit of genuine gratitude, rest assured it will open the gates of many a prison. Prison, of course, understood metaphorically as conditions where we feel circumscribed, cribbed, cabined, limited, denied the opportunity to express ourselves freely and fully. And after all, most people in this world live in that kind of a state. And the more we lose the capacity for gratitude, the more the doors of the prison house close upon us. But the more our spirit enlarges with the power of gratitude, the more our chains break and the doors of the prison open. And therefore, I dare argue that the spirit of gratitude is also the spirit that liberates us. And in Jesus' line of thinking, the spirit of gratitude is directly, immediately linked to the spirit of truth. That's the reason why, from the very beginning, I have been repeatedly emphasizing that true gratitude has to be a spontaneous overflow of the truth of our inward life, the spontaneous overflow of the truth of our inner life. So, if there is the slightest element of untruth or falsehood or deviousness in us, the spirit of gratitude will gradually wither away and our hearts will harden and become like stone. And that itself will render us ineligible for the many blessings with which otherwise the orbit of our life abounds. So it's a very powerful theme, particularly in the New Testament. It's, of course, found everywhere in the Old Testament as well. But more particularly in the New Testament, because it's the New Testament that the spirit of gratitude is linked to life in all its abundance. And I've been looking at this theme, as you have noticed from the very beginning, through the lens of life rather than anything else. So, feeling grateful or being in a state of thankfulness is not an obligation, it's not a burdensome duty, rather, it is the authentic feature of the genuine freedom that we have, freedom for life, freedom to live meaningfully, freedom to exercise one's faith in its true potential and scope, which opens up the possibilities of wonderful experiences and attainments, which then becomes the logic for the tremendous, exciting enhancement of our personality. And when our personality is so enriched through meaningful and exciting experiences, that our hearts begin to overflow with gratitude. And at that time, we will express our gratitude in so many ways. For example, how did that woman experience her gratitude to God, to Jesus, as recorded in the 7th chapter of Luke's Gospel? A woman who was stigmatized by the society as considered morally hopeless, by encountering Jesus Christ, begins to lead a new life, and she is full of gratitude to Jesus. And as Jesus is in the house of Simon the Pharisee, she comes, and without any introduction, without seeking permission from anyone, she begins to act out her gratitude to God. And if you really want to see a picture, an image of true and spontaneous gratitude, the sort that I've been talking about, just read the 7th chapter of Luke's Gospel and see how this so-called fallen woman expresses her spontaneous, pure, sincere gratitude. So that state of life is the greatest blessing that we can think of. And once that capacity departs from us, life becomes very dull, boring. You will see that in modern life, suicide increases precisely as the capacity for gratitude declines. It's a very serious theme. The power of gratitude needs to be recognized. But then, you cannot do so in isolation from the quality of the life that you lead. Ultimately, the bedrock that decides everything is the quality of life, or as Jesus says, the fullness of of life that you lead. And if you are really in that blessed state of living life in all its fullness, then your personality will be incandescent with the light of true thankfulness, sincere, authentic, spontaneous, irresistible thankfulness to God. And He will sing and dance, and you'll express your gratitude in every imaginable way. Remember, David danced before the Lord? That's one way of expressing your gratitude. Or you may decide to lead a very disciplined life, a life that honors God. The prayer that every one of us should actually have is the prayer seeking God's grace to ensure that nothing will be left in us that cannot be offered up to God in gratitude for the greater glory of God. Let there be nothing left in us that cannot be offered up to God in gratitude, not ingratitude, in gratitude, in thankfulness to the greater glory of God. That was indeed the motto of St. Stephen's College, Ad Dei Gloriam, which in Latin means to the glory of God. But then, as it happens in the life of every institution, the motto will remain there, the institution will go some other way. So much so, if you ask any member of the college community today as to how God is to be glorified through the total life of the institution, you are almost certain to get a rebuff. It's not fashionable in St. Stephen's College to take the name of God. That's in the general, of course, There are Christian faculty members, Christian students who within the chapel might do so, but outside the chapel is very doubtful if they would. So this is, and correspondingly, the very spirit of the institution has drooped. The founders of St. Stephen's College were very clear that the commitment to pursue excellence in education can be sustained only as a spiritual commitment. Only so long as the institution remains attuned to or hitched to the glory of God. They imagined an institution in which everything that happens in that institution would be guided and inspired and sustained by this one consideration, that God should be glorified. Everything that happens in St. Stephen's College must glorify God. That was the vision of the founding fathers, and small wonder it became one of the best institutions in this country. As the founder principal Samuel Scott Allnutt indeed said on the 1st of February 1881, he could say that with confidence because he was laying a foundation of spirituality on which alone he knew and his associates knew the quest for excellence could be established on a secure foundation. So, the spirit of gratitude. Do you express the spirit? Do you experience the spirit of gratitude? How many occasions you have had in the last 10 years to experience this spontaneous, overwhelming, irresistible spirit of gratitude? Particularly gratitude to God, but not only gratitude to God, but gratitude to our fellow human beings, gratitude to your parents, gratitude to your siblings, gratitude to your neighbors, gratitude to your colleagues, gratitude to your friends. That actually measures the quality of your own personality. Thank you. All the very best.